Welcome to the Magda K Hub. You think you know what she's saying, but sometimes the truth is hiding in her words in plain sight. Today, I'm revealing the 5 words that women use when their heart is quietly elsewhere, words that betray even the most careful smile. It's subtle, it's almost invisible. She'll say something seemingly innocent, yet it carries a hidden weight. Words that feel casual, but secretly reveal emotional distance. Not every word is a red flag, but these 5, they're consistent whispers of a mind divided. And if you recognize even one of them, it's a signal to pay attention to what's not being said. Welcome to Feminine Insight. Today, we're uncovering the 5 words she uses when her mind is quietly elsewhere, subtle signals that reveal her true focus. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insights into female psychology. Pause. When she says later, it's rarely just about convenience. On the surface, it might seem harmless, a casual way to postpone plans or delay a conversation, but in female psychology, it often carries a subtle message about priorities. When someone consistently chooses later, it's a sign that her focus is divided. She might still care, but her attention is partially elsewhere. This isn't about games or manipulation. It's about how the mind naturally shifts toward what feels most compelling or emotionally significant at the moment. The word later also serves as a protective tool. It gives her a socially acceptable way to create distance without confrontation. By saying later, she keeps interactions safe and non-committal. You don't hear an outright no or rejection, so it can feel frustratingly neutral, but that neutrality is a signal in itself. It suggests hesitation or a reluctance to fully engage. When this happens repeatedly, patterns emerge. It's not just about missing a coffee or delaying a chat. It's about noticing where her energy flows and where it doesn't. Timing matters too. If she consistently chooses later during moments when connection would normally be easier or expected, it becomes more than a casual delay. It becomes an indicator that her mind is processing other priorities consciously or unconsciously. Observing this requires paying attention without overanalyzing. One isolated later doesn't reveal much, but repeated use combined with tone, body language, and responsiveness paints a clearer picture. Ultimately, later is subtle. It's not a shout, it's a whisper. It's a way of signaling mental and emotional space, often without intending to hurt anyone. Recognizing it is less about suspicion and more about awareness. Understanding that sometimes the words she chooses are windows into where her heart and mind are truly engaged. When she says nothing, it often feels frustrating because it seems like she's shutting down a conversation without reason. On the surface, it appears simple and harmless, but in female psychology, it's more than just a word. It's a way to protect herself emotionally. When she says nothing in response to questions about her day, her feelings, or her mood, she's creating a small barrier. It's not always about hiding something deliberately. Sometimes it's about not wanting to be fully vulnerable or revealing where her attention and emotions have been. Saying nothing allows her to control the pace and depth of a conversation. It's a way to keep things neutral and avoid topics she isn't ready or willing to discuss. The word acts as a shield, giving her space without having to outright reject or disappoint anyone. If she's feeling pulled in different directions emotionally, nothing becomes a simple, socially acceptable response that keeps her private thoughts private. Tone and context are important. Nothing delivered with a casual shrug feels different from a clipped, tense nothing. The way she says it often reveals more than the word itself. It can signal mental distance, distraction, or a subtle way of saying, "I'm not fully here right now." Over time, noticing the pattern of this word can provide insight into her emotional state. It's less about secrecy in a dramatic sense and more about understanding that her mind may be preoccupied, cautious, or simply focused elsewhere. Repeatedly saying nothing can indicate that she's creating space to process her thoughts or emotions privately. It's not a rejection of the person asking, it's a quiet way of prioritizing her inner world. Paying attention to this word alongside her body language and consistency in communication gives a clearer understanding of where her emotional focus truly lies. When she says busy, it's rarely just about having a packed schedule. On the surface, it seems like a simple explanation: work, errands, responsibilities. But in female psychology, this word often carries a deeper message. Busy can be a way of setting boundaries without conflict. It gives her a socially acceptable reason to step back, slow down communication, or redirect her energy elsewhere. It's not about being dismissive, it's about protecting her space while still appearing polite and considerate. The word busy can also signal mental or emotional distance. She might physically be present in your conversations or plans, but her attention could be elsewhere. Saying, "I'm busy," provides a subtle hint that her focus is split. It's a way to create space for other priorities without having to explicitly explain them. Often, this isn't manipulative. It's a natural response when someone is emotionally or mentally preoccupied. Tone and context reveal more than the word itself. A casual busy tossed off with a smile feels different from a clipped or distracted busy that cuts a conversation short. Repeated use of this word during moments when connection would normally happen can indicate a shift in her priorities or emotional energy. It's not about blaming or accusing, it's about noticing where her attention lies. Another aspect is that busy allows her to maintain control. By using this word, she decides how and when she engages. It gives her flexibility while also signaling that she's not fully available in that moment. Observing patterns around this word, combined with other subtle cues like tone, responsiveness, and body language, can provide insight into her emotional state. Saying busy often reflects a quiet way of managing time, attention, and emotional space. It's less about rejection and more about where her energy is directed, offering a window into her priorities and focus without her having to spell it out. When she says fine, it often feels simple, even polite, but in female psychology, it can carry a lot more beneath the surface. On the outside, it seems like a neutral, harmless response, an answer that closes the conversation quickly. But more often than not, it's a word that signals emotional distance. It's a way of keeping things safe without opening up or revealing what's really going on inside. Fine can be used to avoid deeper discussion. When someone asks how she's feeling or what she thinks about a situation, saying fine is a way to maintain control over what she shares. It's not necessarily a sign of hostility, it's more about preserving her inner emotional space. By keeping her response short and neutral, she prevents herself from feeling exposed, and she subtly signals that she's not ready to go deeper. Tone is everything with this word. A cheerful, casual fine feels very different from a clipped, quiet, or tense fine. The latter often hints at something unresolved, unspoken, or emotionally withheld. Over time, paying attention to these subtle variations can reveal whether she's truly at ease or just keeping her distance. Fine becomes a sort of emotional mask, a polite way to cover up distraction, discomfort, or thoughts that she's not sharing. It's also a word that can deflect attention. By answering with fine, she ends the inquiry without outright shutting someone down. It's socially acceptable and avoids confrontation, but it allows her to keep her focus elsewhere. When this word appears repeatedly in conversations, it suggests that she may be disengaging or protecting herself emotionally. Ultimately, fine is quiet but meaningful. It's not always what it seems. Listening to how, when, and in what context she says, it provides insight into her emotional state. It's less about negativity and more about understanding her need for space, her level of engagement, and what she's choosing to reveal or withhold at that moment. When she says maybe, it's rarely just indecision. In female psychology, it often reflects a subtle way of keeping options open while protecting her emotional space. Maybe allows her to respond without fully committing, to maintain flexibility in her thoughts, feelings, or plans. It's not always about playing games, it's a natural way of signaling that she hasn't fully aligned her priorities yet. Maybe can indicate hesitation or internal conflict. She may genuinely want to engage, participate, or connect, but something in her mind or heart is holding her back. By using this word, she buys herself time to process, evaluate, and decide without feeling pressured. It's a quiet way of saying, I'm considering this, but I'm not fully available yet. And it often appears when her attention or interest is split. Tone and context are key. A cheerful, casual maybe might really mean she's leaning toward yes, but wants to stay flexible. While a clipped, uncertain maybe often signals emotional distance or a lack of investment, Patterns matter more than isolated instances. When maybe repeatedly shows up in her responses to invitations, questions, or discussions, it becomes a subtle indicator that her focus or energy is divided. This word also allows her to maintain control in a socially acceptable way. She can respond without disappointing anyone, without outright saying no, and without revealing too much about her true intentions. It's a way of keeping her emotional cards close to her chest while still engaging on a surface level. Ultimately, maybe is a window into her mindset. It reflects hesitation and careful consideration of where her energy goes. By paying attention to the frequency, tone, and context, you can start to understand when her mind is elsewhere or when her heart is quietly divided. It's less about deception and more about awareness of how subtle words reveal deeper emotional truths. When you start paying attention to the words she uses, you begin to notice patterns that reveal more than she might say out loud. These words, later, nothing, busy, fine, and maybe aren't just casual phrases. They are small signals, subtle ways of showing where her focus, attention, or emotional energy truly lies. It's not about blaming or accusing anyone, it's about awareness. When someone consistently communicates this way, it tells you how she's navigating her thoughts and feelings. Sometimes she's protecting herself, sometimes she's prioritizing differently, and sometimes her mind is simply elsewhere. Recognizing these patterns helps you understand her perspective, her boundaries, and her emotional state without needing her to spell it out. The key is observation over assumption. One word here or there doesn't reveal everything, but repeated patterns are meaningful. Listening closely, noticing tone, context, and timing gives insight into the subtle ways she expresses herself. It's less about uncovering secrets and more about understanding human behavior and emotional nuance. By noticing these small signals, you can navigate relationships with more clarity, empathy, and awareness. You start to see not just what is being said, but what is being quietly communicated beneath the surface. If you found this helpful, like this video, subscribe to Feminine Insight, and comment the word awareness if this opened your eyes to how subtle communication works.